Today I'm going to be canning homemade baked beans. This is one of Mike's favorites. We're just going to do pints today. It's more of his favorite than my favorite, the whole baked bean thing. I'll kind of go over a little bit of what to do and how to get the baked beans prepared. But to start, I just want to go over a couple things. You want to make sure your jars are sanitized. So if you've seen any of the other ones, this is not a toilet brush. I only use it for sanitizing jars. I know Mike has a million times, like, we also clean the toilet out with that. We do not. One thing you do want to do is around the top of every jar, you're just going to kind of want to feel for any ridges or cracks or any gouges in there. And if it is, that's no good. You're not going to want to can with that. It's not going to seal properly. It may shatter while it's in the pressure canner. And if that happens, you're going to have to throw everything out. You're also going to want to start with hot jars. So there's a couple different ways you can do that. You can run them through, if you have a dishwasher, you can run them through on a hot water cycle. You can just kind of rinse them out with hot water as you go. I like to fill my jars with hot water. It keeps them hot enough because you don't want to put hot ingredients into a cold jar because you could cause cracking with that too. So I got my jars ready. Mike's going to join me on the other side while I kind of show you a couple more things over there. So we're on the other side now. This is our pressure canner. They come with two of these. When you're doing quarts, you only ever need one of them because there's always one on the bottom. But today we're doing pints, so I can fit 8 pints in the bottom. If it happens to be more than 8 pints of beans, we'll go ahead and we'll stack this on there. And then we can put more on top. But it only works with pints, not quarts. But you always want to make sure one of these is in the bottom. You're going to want about 2 inches of water in there. And you're going to want it at a boil. Maybe a little over 2 inches. Beans being a little bit more dense, I just wanted to add a little bit more water just to be safe. Here's our baked beans. I just kind of want to show you this. You're going to want to make sure that they're soupy. These beans, they are going to absorb a lot. I prepared dried beans by soaking them overnight, and then I just kind of covered them with water today, put them on the stove top, and kind of just brought them to a good simmer for a little bit to warm them up. I've also included in there, we got some bacon and onions. The bacon I just browned up in the oven and just chopped it up coarsely. The onions, I did saute those on top of the stove. And there's tons of recipes out there for baked beans depending on the type that you like. This is what I've decided to go with. And then I do have a little bit of like ground mustard in there, a little salt, molasses, brown sugar, water is kind of just the basis to what I got going in there. But we got that nice and hot. We got our water boiling. I'm going to use 2 different ladles today. One of them's kind of a strainer because I'm going to want to make sure that I get the beans and everything in there. And then I'm going to have a second one here just to make sure that I'm getting some liquid on top of that too. A couple other things you're going to need is you're going to want your lids at a simmer. So I got those simmering there. You're going to need your rings. We got a funnel. We got a lid remover because this water's hot. So this will lift your lids out of there for you. This is going to be to get air bubbles out. It's a little spatula. We also got like a jar lifter. The jars are going to be hot, so we're going to use this to put the jars in once they're all done and processed to take the jars out. You're also going to want either a clean rag or I just prefer to use napkins. I try not to waste a whole lot, but I really like cleaning the tops of my jars with napkins. Once it's dirty, I just kind of toss it out, and then I'm not too worried about fuzzies and stuff like that. So I'm just going to grab a jar. We're going to go ahead and get started here. So first, I just want to make sure that I'm ladling in, you know, the beans, the bacon, the onions, all that good stuff. We don't want to overdo that. So I'm going to go to about there with the beans. They are going to expand a lot. They're going to absorb a lot of the liquid. That's why you want them soupy. Now I'm just going to take my other ladle just to get some of that liquid in there. And then we're just going to want to fill it to about right there. About that bottom little ring there. You can kind of see some of these air bubbles coming up. We're going to go ahead and take care of that here right now. That's what the spatula is for. You just want to kind of go down the sides and then down the middle just to make sure you're getting those air bubbles out. This is going to improve your chances of it sealing and your jars not cracking in the canner. Once you're done with that, we're going to want to go ahead and wipe the rim of this down, which is also going to improve the chances of your jars sealing. You know, if none of them bust in your canner, if you take the lid off at the end and something's busted in there, it's all done. You got to throw it all away because These lids, they don't always come out sealed. They usually seal after you take them out, and you kind of hear it go pop, pop, pop. That's when they seal. So if you have a jar shatter in there, you don't know if any glass shards have gotten into any of the other ones. So if that happens, it's all done. Now, if one doesn't seal, but none of the jars crack, that's fine. Once it cools down, you can just put it in the fridge and eat it. So let's just hope that that doesn't happen with all these. This is going to be a stinky little house if Mike's got to eat baked beans for the next week. Anyway, so we got our lid. We go ahead and put that on there. And then we're just going to hand tight. Don't tighten too much. I actually have a video out there on what happens if you tighten them too much. You have to check that one out. And we're going to go ahead and just place this in the canner. I am going to go ahead and get the rest of these filled up for you, and I'll check in with you at that point and kind of show you what we do for our next step. Good. So I got our last jar here. We got the air bubbles out. We filled about this far with beans, and then we put the broth, the juice, whatever you want to call it in there, your baked bean tasties. One thing I did want to point out though is a lot of people, you can do them in the oven too. There's a lot of different ways to do this. My big thing is just make sure that your beans still have some firmness to it, because in the canner they will get tender, and if you overcook them or over prepare them, they will turn to mush. So you don't want that. But there's so many recipes out there for getting together for making homemade baked beans for canning. It's all up to your taste, your time. I know in the oven they can take between 3 and 4 hours. They can. I've done chili, I've done dried beans, I've done all this. They get soft. It'll work. So this is just the way that I do it. No, the actual steps for how to can them, that's all the same no matter what recipe that you're going to follow on that. Unless you do maybe a vegetarian or a vegan type that don't have the meat in it, then it might be a little bit different. I haven't looked into that. Mike likes his meat. So this is the last jar here. We're just going to go ahead and put it in. It can hold 8 jars on the bottom. I got 7 down at the bottom. I got my second layer lid partitioner thing in there, and we got 5 on top. I knew we weren't going to need to have all 8 of them. I knew it'd take more than that, so after 7, I just put them up here. We want to make sure that the jars are not touching each other and they're not touching the side of this to help improve the chances of it not shattering. Our next step that we're going to do is we got to put the lid on it. So a lot of them, they do have, like this one here's got an arrow there and an arrow here, so you know that's where you got to line it up. So we're just going to line it up and we're going to lock it. Now we just need to sit and wait for this to get at a good vent. You might be like, oh, you can see like water sputtering out of there. You can kind of feel it. That's not a good vent, but I will show you what a good vent is as soon as it starts venting. We are at a good vent right now. I know it's a little bit hard to see. Maybe you can kind of see it up here. This is a good strong vent. This even popped up there. I usually go about the same time this is a good vent. This pops up, so that's a good indicator for me we're venting good. So we are going to go ahead now and we're going to vent for 10 minutes before we do anything else, and then I will show you the next step. Now we've been venting for 10 minutes. You're going to see this hasn't gone up at all. That's okay. It shouldn't have. We have not put our weight on there. That's our next step. The weight I have is 5 pounds, and then you add a ring to it. That's going to make it 10 pounds. That's what we need. It does come with another ring that makes it 15 pounds. That's at higher elevations. I'm not exactly sure what elevation that starts at. So I would definitely look into it if you're at higher elevations, if you need that extra ring on here or not. I've always lived at lower elevations. I'm in northern Minnesota. So I just got the weight and the 1 ring. We're going to go ahead and we just put it on there. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we're going to want to get this pressure up to 10 pounds before we start our countdown. We're not going to sit here and make you watch all that, but once we hit that 10 pound mark here, I will check in with you. I will kind of show you the next step, our processing minutes in there, and anything you want to look out for. So check back with me in a little bit. We're just coming up on that 10 pound mark there. You're going to start hearing this kind of jiggle a little bit, your weight. We are at 10 pounds now, so we can go ahead and start our counter. Pints, which is what I'm doing today, is going to be for 80 minutes. Quarts are going to be for 95 minutes if you're canning quarts. I do like to, however, I can start my timer now, but I do like to get it just a little bit about right in this area here. And then you're going to want to start adjusting your heat. I got it on high right now, but you're going to want to start adjusting that down. If you don't adjust that down, it's going to keep building and building and building. And if you get in this caution zone, a lot of them nowadays, I have a little plug back here that'll pop. But the issue is with that pops, you're going to lose everything in there. You're going to have to start all over again. Beans might be a little mushy after that point. But you also do not want it to drop underneath that 10. So if it drops under 10 pounds, you got to start all over again. If it blows your little safety thing, gets in the caution zone, blows your little safety valve there, you're going to have to start all over again too. So you're just going to want to kind of play with that heat. You're going to want to stay within earshot. As you get used to this, you're going to get used to this sound and know that you're good. So you can kind of, do dishes, do a little bit of picking up in the house, whatever you want to do. You definitely don't want to like run outside, because even if for a minute, let's say you lose power and that drops under there and then it builds back up and you don't know that happened, then it's not safe. So make sure you stay at least 10 pounds. This is a good part right here. I like to keep it about there. I'm going to go ahead and start turning my heat down, start my timer, and I'll catch up with you in 80 minutes. All right, 80 minutes is up. We're doing pints today, so 80 minutes for pints. You'd be doing 95 minutes if you were doing quarts. Our 80 minutes is up, so all we do at this point is we just go ahead and we turn this off. Do not remove your weight. Do not try to open it. Don't move your canner off where it's at the stove. Don't move nothing. At this point, we just go ahead and we want to turn that off. And we are going to wait for this to get down to 0 pressure. And then I will check back in with you and tell you the next step. We're now down to 0 pressure, as you can see. So we're going to go ahead and we can take this weight off now. After we remove this weight, you're going to want to wait 5 minutes before we open the lid. And I'll check in with you at that point. It's been 5 minutes. We're going to go ahead now and we can remove the lid. Now, mine has an open close, so I know which way I need to turn it. Now, when you go to remove the lid, open it away from you, because you're going to get a lot of steam coming out unless you want one of them scalding steam baths. I would suggest to lift and open away from you. Nothing shattered on top, that's a good sign. Now we got to wait 10 minutes before removing these jars from here. And once these 10 minutes are up, I'm going to go ahead and move these out of here and kind of let you know the last little couple things that you need to know. So stick with me and I'll be checking in just a minute. It's been 10 minutes since we removed the lid. We're going to go ahead and start getting the jars out of here. A couple of them have actually already been sealed and I can hear them bing, bing. But we're going to go ahead. I have 5 on the top rack. These were pints, so I was able to do the double rack. I think they look wonderful. So I'm going to get these out of here. And to get the lid out, I don't know, maybe there's a better way to do it. I always just use a handy dandy fork and just kind of grab right under in there and just remove that. Nothing shattered, so that's good. So even if some of these don't seal, we're still okay to go ahead and eat them. As soon as they cool down, then we'll just want to stick them in the fridge. I know some of them have sealed, I've heard it. Thank goodness, because if I had to watch Mike eat, was it 12 pints of baked beans? Oh, jeez. One last thing is don't, even if the bands seem loose, do not tighten them. Do not touch them. Unless, give it 6 hours or so. You're not supposed to touch them for 12 hours. Don't do anything. After 12 hours, you can go ahead and remove the rings. There was one sealing. You can go ahead, remove the rings, and, mark them baked beans, the date, and store them properly. But I would say after a couple hours or so, and it's cool enough that you can touch it and it's not too hot. If it hasn't sealed, maybe go ahead and put that sucker in the fridge. Unless you got a lot of them, might want to leave it a little longer. But don't tighten the bands. Don't mess with them. I'd only, if it doesn't seem like, if all of a sudden all your jars sealed and you got 1 or 2 and it's been a couple hours, 4 hours, something like that, and you got 1 or 2 that didn't seal, you can go ahead and just put that in the fridge. Otherwise, just let them sit for 12 hours. After that, you can go ahead, remove the rings, wash them up, mark them. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you've got any questions or comments or anything, let me know. If there's anything else you'd like to see me do, let me know that too. I'm always up for a challenge, even if I've never tried anything. If I know it's possible, or if I even think it could be possible, I'll go ahead and give it a try. And I will catch up with you on the next one.